I'm quilt and pattern designer Amanda Murphy, and I'd like to show you how to use my Good Measure triangle in a square cutting rulers for Brewer sewing. The rulers feature a non-skid backing and 2 colors of marking, making them easy to read. I begin by cutting a strip of fabric the width of my block. So in this case, I'm making a block that's 6.5 inches. I highly recommend starching all your fabrics before you begin, since you will be piecing on a bias. I cut my main triangle from the strip, and then I use the corners of my ruler to trim the fabric. This will help me when aligning my seams. I wouldn't skip this step because it makes piecing so much easier. Next, let's cut the background pieces. So I start again with the 6.5 inch strip, and I fold it in half, either right sides or wrong sides together. I essentially want to cut 2 pieces that are mirror images of each other. So I use that 6.5 inch line on the smaller triangle ruler, and I cut one side, then rotate the fabric and cut the other. Cutting mats that rotate can also be a huge time saver when making blocks like this. The fabric is fairly stiff because, again, I've starched it heavily. Now I want to do the same and use the bottom corner of my ruler to trim off that little seam allowance. Now we can assemble the block and lay it out. I'll join one side to the main triangle. It doesn't matter which side you work with first. Since I'm making a rather large block, a 6.5 inch block, I use 3 pins to secure the fabric. If I was making a 3.5 inch triangle in a square, I might just use 2. Now I'm going to go ahead and take it to the machine, sew the seam, and then press the seam open. Next, it's time to join the other background piece to the side of the block. Note that those corners I trimmed earlier are really helping me align the fabric. I'll take this to the machine, I'll sew it with a 1/4 inch seam, press it open, and there I have a triangle in a square block. I have several patterns that coordinate with the triangle in a square rulers. Both Garden Party and Frolic in the Rain use these rulers to piece the raindrop blocks. Flag Day, an exuberant modern quilt coming out in early 2022, also features these blocks. And Celebration, also coming out in early 2022, is an explosion of color. And of course, all of the fabric shown is from my collections for Contempo of Benartex. I hope you've enjoyed learning how to use my Good Measure triangle in a square cutting rulers.